Heading into the Canadian Grand Prix, there was a big talking point that caught the eye of many. Esteban Ocon could be dropped potentially mid-season due to Haas being very disappointed in his performances. This shocked everyone since this is Haas, guys. They kept Grosjean and Magnussen for as long as they did, and they were going to keep Mazepin in 2022 if it weren't for Russia's war. They have an astronomically low bar when it comes to the drivers they hire, so the fact that Ocon could be dropped is actually a testament to how far Haas have grown. The Steiner era was of course marked by lackluster performances and drivers hating each other to death. Haas were such a messy team back then, and it brings me great joy to see them doing as good as they are under Komatsu. Komatsu's Haas is defined by slow and steady results that are well fought for, which basically means they are actually competent now. And with this newfound competency, they need competent drivers. So bye-bye K-Mag and welcome in Ollie Behrman. Ollie is one of the most promising youngsters F1 has ever seen thanks to his incredible ability to just be rock solid in defending, attacking, one lap pace. Ollie has all the markings of a future great of the sport, and Haas is allowing him to hone this amazing craft of his while also using it to deliver them results. But Hulkenberg has been poached by Audi, so Haas need another driver, and their choice of driver was Esteban Ocon. Ocon in 2024 was fully crashing out at Alpine, which got him fired, and conveniently for the snatching of Haas. Komatsu said Esteban is a great driver who has shown exemplary pace along with an ability to maximize every opportunity. So their lineup for 2025 and beyond would be a talented rookie along with a decent midfield driver to get the results before Behrman truly explodes. So did 2025 reflect this? Well, I mean, at first, yes, but after a while, absolutely not. Behrman started to get results way faster than he should have, which put Esteban under some harsh lenses. Coincidentally, Ocon's performances start to decline around this time, and soon enough, he is basically forgotten in the midfield while Ollie leads it. Okay, but 2026 is a new era, and Esteban can surely bounce back, right? Yeah, no, all of this is why Komatsu potentially wants to replace him, and despite the two of them denying the rumors, we know damn well that to actually believe them. So I ask a question: what the hell is going on with Esteban Ocon, and is he truly that bad to warrant a mid-season sacking? Let's go find this out by seeing his junior career to understand the type of driver he is, his time in F1, and then answering the good old question. Subscribe if you had potential, and let's get to quacking now.
A good weather for a race, but especially for a talk.
To understand Ocon the driver, we must go back to the past. Esteban Ocon started driving karts in 2005 and with relatively low expectations won the very first series he ever competed in along with the P5 result in another. And honestly, his karting career would be extremely good. In nearly all the competitions he partook in, he was one of, if not the fastest driver competing, which of course nabbed him some big results. And he was facing off against guys like Gasly, Leclerc, Verstappen, and at the very least he was slightly behind them. Ocon was showcasing some massive talent in the karting series, especially when it relates to one-lap pace, and despite his family not being a bunch of millionaires or billionaires, they made Ocon's career work even if it meant they needed to sell their belongings. Ocon has that amount of talent to justify that, and in 2012 he would make the big jump up to cars to see if he still has the same ability over there too. He would race in two Formula Renault series where he did decent enough, 14th in the standings in one of them, 7th in the other. You gotta cut these car rookies some slack since they were taking an almighty jump at performance. Regardless, 2013 has got to be better still, since one of the worst things he could do in the junior series is not have momentum. So I'm happy to report that Esteban would not be a fraud, since racing again in the Formula Renault series, Esteban finished third in the standings with a couple of wins and enough credit to move up the ladder. By this point, Esteban was starting to become known for many things, one of them being his rapid pace. He was outrageously fast, and if he could become better at managing the car and overtaking, Esteban would truly become a force to be reckoned with. So 2014 would feature another massive jump, since this year he would be racing in F3 on a grid that featured perhaps the biggest name ever in junior motorsports, Max Verstappen. Max of course needs zero introduction, since by this point Max was speed running up the ladder with the stupid amounts of karting titles and car accolades. However, Max did not win the F3 series in a dominant fashion. That achievement instead went to Esteban Ocon with his 478 points to Max's 411 points. Max did win more races with 10 compared to Ocon's 9, but Max was very crash happy in this stage of his career and got into more incidents than he should have. Esteban, meanwhile, kept his head relatively clean and danced his way to victory, and with such a massive win, Toro Rosso would sweep in and sign Ocon all the way to F1 for 2015. Oh wait, they did that to Max. Yeah, so the story goes Mercedes wanted to sign Max to their driver program and have him in F1 for 2017. Red Bull were like, how about now? And Max accepted. I mentioned this because Toto, seeing the end of the tunnel with Lewis and Nico, needed another big talented driver to fill in that seat. And despite Max losing out to Ocon in F3, it was kind of clear and obvious Max was still more talented regardless. But everyone thought Esteban had near enough talent to be in contention with Max as well. All of this led to Toto signing Ocon in 2015 to the Mercedes Driver Academy, with the goal of eventually bringing him all the way up to Mercedes, soon to fight with Red Bull's Max Verstappen. So for that year, Esteban would race in the GP3 series, which was basically F3 but better, and here Esteban would win yet again. That is now 2 equivalent F3 series conquered by Esteban thanks to his consistent and fast driving that is getting better by the year. Toto, seeing this, of course, for 2016, made the obvious and logical move for Esteban after completing F3 with only F2 being the next step. That's right, he's racing in DTM. What? DTM in 2016 is kind of like suicide since there was zero incentive for any driver to race there, especially junior ones. It was a dying series, drained of everything that made it what it once was. Toto only did this because Esteban was so good, he felt F2 was unnecessary, which is why he also served as a test driver for Renault, but why? Just put him in F2 as well, man. It's not that hard. Racing in DTM cars kind of hampered Ocon's progress, and sure, maybe he is gaining racecraft, but he's too young to do the whole good in sports car, good in open wheel thing. He needs more experience, especially if Toto wants him to be his Max Verstappen, but whatever, it's in the past. During 2016, Manor F1 was a team that existed, and with them cycling driver after driver, eventually, Esteban Ocon's name was up for the draft thanks to persuasion from Toto, and starting from the midseason of 2016, Esteban Ocon would finally be a Formula 1 driver. Ocon's junior career was defined by ridiculous pace and consistency behind the wheel. Would F1 showcase this? Well, who knows, since he was in a manor in 2016, which is probably just as effective as running on the circuit. But for 2017, maybe he could showcase this with an awesome Force India drive next to Sergio Perez. Force India were a solid midfield team capable of points to surprise podiums, so this would be a perfect team for Esteban to truly show what he has. And you know, he has some ability. Esteban has a highest result of 5th and is scoring point after point, but this sunshine and rainbows would quickly soon come to an end since we of course have the 2017 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. In Baku, chaos erupts as per usual, and Force India now see themselves poised to take a podium with either Checo or Esteban. In our safety car restart, they are close to each other, both ready to overtake some cars and get a podium, and they crashed. Both cars kind of just swerved into each other at the exit of turn 2, and this resulted in Checo retiring from the race and Esteban having to finish in 6th with a broken car. Checo was rightfully pissed about this, and Esteban felt he did nothing wrong, and from this point forwards, things would change massively at Force India. Both drivers were able to still score points, but they straight up hated each other. Another race everyone talks about is Belgium, where again, both cars seemingly want to crash, which again resulted in Checo out of the points and Esteban having to complete the race in a faulty car. So at the end of 2017, Checo did score more points than Esteban and finished ahead of him more often, but Esteban did really well too with his 87 points to Checo's flat 100. Esteban has a good base to build from towards a potential Mercedes drive as long as 2018 can be better with less crashes. The bare minimum, in my opinion, is to flat out beat Checo in the standings and maybe stand on the podium. Yeah, Esteban did not do that shit. 2018 was a slight step down since he got into more incidents this year, like infamously Brazil, where Max nearly killed him in a blind fit of rage, or at least Esteban thinks so, and many other teammate crashes. Checo was able to be in the points more often. He even got a podium at Baku, ironically, while Esteban was struggling to beat the Renault and Hasses. Maybe for 2019 he could come back, but it's looking pretty bleak so far. So 2019 comes and Esteban decides to go bold with a name change, hoping to find performance along with the change to his nationality. He ultimately decided on changing his name and flag to a Canadian from Montreal named Lance Stroll. Hey, wait a minute. Esteban Ocon was fired from Force India at the end of 2018 to make way for Lance as Papa Stroll bought the team out of bankruptcy. With Checo having the better results and history with the team, Esteban was ultimately shown the door and left without a seat for 2019. Luckily, Toto had his back since he served as a reserve driver for the year and even helped him get back to the grid in 2020 with Renault alongside Daniel Ricciardo. Here, he could build another good base against a teammate more cleaner than Checo, along with racing for an actual French team. In theory, this year should be better than 2018 easily since the environment is much more comfortable, and yet, It just wasn't. It wasn't worse in 2018, but better, I don't know about that word. Esteban would be very inconsistent. At some races, he showed great pace like in Spa, but in other ones, he was nowhere while Daniel was consistently in the top 6 fighting for results. Esteban was able to get a podium this year, but also found himself out of the points way too many times as well, and I suppose this should have been expected. I mean, a year out can do a lot to someone, especially when their teammate on comeback is Danny Rick, so thank God he's going to McLaren for 2021. I bet Esteban's new teammate will be some junior bum he could farm against. It's Fernando Alonso. Okay, but Fernando is an old head, and 2021 should still be a big improvement anyways. Yeah, no, it wasn't. The only thing that changed for Esteban from 2020 to 2021 was the car livery, since it was more of the same. He sometimes was high up, sometimes wasn't. It's too inconsistent to tell, which is such a far cry from the junior series where he could go on a multi-race run of podiums and top 5 results. Now with his results so sporadic, you get the feeling Esteban is kind of losing it. He of course was able to win a race in Hungary, which was a great drive from him, but it's sour when he has other drives stuck in P12 complaining while Fernando is consistently leading the midfield. 2022 is kind of his last chance for Esteban, since with new regs, maybe he could start fresh and build another legacy here. And you know what? He was not bad at all. 2022 is probably Esteban's best year yet, since now he was consistently in the points bagging results for Alpine while Fernando had to feel the wrath of the French. This included many close calls with Esteban that angered the shit out of Fernando. This ultimately resulted in Fernando leaving to Aston Martin, and with Ocon needing a new teammate, surely he could comfortably beat him and establish dominance were true now. His new teammate is Pierre Gasly. For context, Gasly and Ocon were best buddies as kids, until they weren't. Some karting incident happened where it was so minor that I don't care to look up what happened. However, both drivers have resented each other since and hate even being near each other. So the fact that they are teammates now, how long until they crash? 3 races, bro. Round 3 in Australia sees them crashing and having many close calls throughout the season, but yet again, Esteban isn't able to consistently beat Gasly. It was close in the standings, but Pierre ultimately had the better consistency to bag in results, while Ocon was stuck in midfield hell, unable to progress up the grid. And with 2024 seeing his contract on its last year, Esteban needs to prove he still has it, and he was fired after Monaco. He crashed into Pierre again, and Alpine, being fed up, said fuck out of here, man. He was essentially embargoed out of the team since Pierre got all the upgrades and favor in the team, while Esteban was slowly being driven to insanity. But he still had enough credit to be hired by Haas for 2025, where as we know, he drove the car. The first half of the year did see Esteban have a firm grip over rookie Behrman. He even had brilliant drives in China and Monaco. However, post-summer break, Behrman finally got going, and when he did, he left Esteban in the dust. Rookie Behrman finished ahead of him in the standings, all while Ocon yet again just can't be in the fights for points often. Albeit, unreliability and bad strategies play a part, but it cannot be the reason for every single race he is behind Behrman. It's getting frustrating at this point, and when he still can improve in 2026 despite new regulations, I'm sorry, not only do I not see him at Haas for 2027 if he doesn't improve, but also just not on the grid for 2027. So why does he struggle so much? Well, in my opinion, I low-key think Toto and Esteban himself are to blame. On one hand, I think Toto is to blame since he kind of didn't let Esteban cook enough in the juniors. I mean, in 2016, he absolutely should have been racing in F2, and I reckon he very easily could have beaten Gasly to that title, but instead, he was put in dying DTM and a Manor F1 car 15 seconds away from every other car. He is not going to build experience or his craft there, and if anything, he sort of regressed because of it. Also, Toto keeping Esteban in junior driver limbo even into F1 kind of killed the hype around Ocon since no team wanted to touch him for a while since he was Toto's treasure. The only problem is, of course, Toto never really used Ocon for anything, and by the time he returned in 2020, he was basically forgotten about and just left to be a standard midfield driver. However, Esteban certainly has himself to blame for his troubles too, since when every teammate you have worked with reports hating driving alongside you, surely you need to look in the mirror and reflect, buddy. Esteban does not know when to give up, which on one hand is a good trait, but on the other, if you see a gap is closing, you should have the ability to recognize that and try a different move instead of going for it because it existed at one point. Esteban also refuses to take accountability for these incidents, and you sometimes have to wonder if he is trying to get people to dislike him. So is that just it for Esteban? No more F1 in the near future? Well, unfortunately, I believe so, since the grave he and Toto have dug is too deep now to climb out of. Well, at least in F1. I actually think Esteban is still very talented and fast, and while F1 has not gone to plan, I think it could elsewhere, specifically WEC. Now, Esteban has lost favor with Alpine, so no Alpine seat for him, but what if Toyota wants his services? And sure, he's useless in F1, but what if he's good in WEC? Toyota have had a string of years where they were not the best team anymore, and with 2026 and beyond looking much better, what better driver to have bolstering the team than an ex-F1 driver? I actually think Ocon would fit right into hypercar, since with more drivers in each car, hey, at least it can't be all his fault now, right? I also think maybe IndyCar is another good option, since with Esteban's one-lap pace that surely isn't all gone, he could actually do very well against the top dogs in that series, I'd imagine. So while the F1 dreams are all but diminished, I think WEC and IndyCar are very good options for Esteban should he want to reestablish his legacy. So those are my thoughts on Esteban. I really like him as a driver, but I fear his time is up. But if he does go to WEC or Indy, he will become one of my number ones, which of course is a very historic honor. Anyways, I want to give a quick shout out to all my Brazil flock for the continued support. Make sure to join if you want cool benefits as well as just helping me out. Anyways, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like and subscribe since it really helps me out. Make sure to let me know in the comments what you think of this. And as always, have an amazing day.
Good weather for the duck.